Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GZTV back with another video, and in this video we are going to be doing a movie review on the 1992 American horror film directed and produced by Francis Ford Coppola, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and obviously has some pretty big names in it. You know, Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, and yeah, we're going to get to the plot, the critical reception. You guys know how these videos go. Alright, we're back. I just took a shower. But yeah, first of all, there's some spoilers. Spoiler warning, please be warned, we are going over everything in the movie. We're not leaving anything out. Let's just get into the plot. So, we start in 1462, where Vlad Dracula returns from a victory in his campaign against the Ottoman Empire to find his beloved wife Elizabeta has committed suicide after his enemies falsely reported his death. To pretty much get at him and to like get in his head, and obviously killed his wife pretty much. So yeah, he's obviously heartbroken. A priest tells him that his wife's soul is damned to hell for committing suicide, and Dracula just doesn't like that. It doesn't sit well with Dracula. He's enraged. Vlad desecrates the chapel and renounces God, declaring he will rise from the grave to avenge Elizabeta with all the powers of darkness. And this is where like he kind of goes against everything and becomes just this monster. Obviously shit like this doesn't happen in real life. This is a completely fantastical fantasy movie. But yeah, so now we skip forward to 1897, where solicitor Jonathan Harker takes the Transylvanian Count Dracula as a client from his colleague R.M. Renfield, who has gone insane and is now an inmate in Dr. Jack Seward's insane asylum. So this guy was once like a vampire hunter, or he was once like a psychologist or something like that, and he's sending Jonathan Harker out to talk to Dracula and to do kind of like a character study, like a case study on him. Not a character study. I mean, obviously, if that was a movie that he was watching, then yeah, but he's doing an actual case study for him. So Jonathan travels to Transylvania to arrange Dracula's real estate acquisitions in London to help him out. You know, a solicitor, if you didn't know, is a practitioner. He deals with a lot of legal matters, so he's gonna try to. And Dracula, I'm pretty sure, is kind of Renfield's master that he's like kind of going insane about like throughout the film. So that's another thing. Jonathan meets Dracula, who finds a picture of his fiancée, Mina Murray, and believes she's the reincarnation of Elizabeta. So she has came back to life. And yeah, I mean, she reminds him a lot of Elizabeta. So he starts to have like an obsession with her throughout the film, and you kind of see that. Yeah. Dracula leaves Jonathan to be fed upon by his brides, while he sails to England with Transylvanian soil, taking up residence at Carfax Abbey. So yeah, he pretty much leaves him behind, pretty much traps him in his little dungeon with his brides. This is a pretty sexual movie, and I was kind of surprised. I mean, obviously sucking on someone's blood kind of gets like sexual in a way, but I was kind of surprised at how many of these like vices, how many of these interesting, you know, I don't know, these just vices, I don't know, like sinful acts, like glorifying sexual acts, and like people getting aroused from Dracula. It's a very interesting film, but it's visually like very appealing, so we can move on there. So in London, Dracula hypnotically seduces and then bites Mina's best friend, Lucy Westenra, with whom Mina is staying while Jonathan is in Transylvania. Obviously, Jonathan and Mina had a house together, but now she's staying with her best friend. These people are kind of like royal. They kind of have some sort of royalty. They're pretty high-class people. Lucy's deteriorating health and behavioral changes prompt former suitors Quincy Morris and Dr. Seward, along with their fiancé Arthur Holmwood, to summon Dr. Abraham Van Helsing, Seward's mentor, who recognizes Lucy as being the victim of a vampire, and he is very familiar with like the whole Dracula legend. He knows about all these things, you know, the Dieter, however you say that, which is actually what this like new film was about that just came out in the Dracula franchise. And yeah, she's like, yeah, she is undead. He can't even explain to these guys like what she has become. So Dracula, appearing young and handsome during daylight, meets and charms Mina. Like tries to get her to go with him and to agree to pretty much like go on a little date almost, it seems. Mina begins to develop feelings for Dracula, accompanying him on several outings. So they pretty much go on dates together. He pretty much wins over her heart because she reminds him so much of Elizabetha and believes that she actually is Elizabetha reincarnated. When Mina finally receives word from Jonathan, who has escaped the castle and recovered at a convent, she travels to Romania to marry him. She realizes that Dracula is kind of this Dracula guy like trapped him in this castle on his trip to Transylvania, and she soon, I guess eventually in the movie, she realizes that this is Dracula that she's with, but she's like so attached and has so many feelings for him that she can't quite turn on him, and that's kind of how the film ends on that. But moving on, upon learning this, a heartbroken Dracula transforms Lucy into a vampire so she can stay with him forever. That is something he probably wishes he did to Elizabetha, but he couldn't. Van Helsing, Holmwood, Seward, and Morris kill and behead the undead Lucy the following night. So she pretty much starts showing symptoms that she's going to become a vampire and that something is not quite right with her, and, you know, that sort of thing. So after he and Mina return to London, Jonathan and Van Helsing lead the others to Carfax Abbey, where they destroy the Count's boxes of soil. Like he was going to put his soil there so he can make it his home and kind of get some refuge from the people that are kind of hunting him, because obviously everyone knows the legend. They want to find him, they want to hunt him down, they want to behead him, because that's pretty much the only way you can kill these vampires. You know, that goes for like his bride, that goes for like Lucy when she turns, that goes for Mina when she eventually turns in the film. Dracula enters the asylum and kills Renfield for warning Mina of his presence. Like, why would you even tell her of me? He visits Mina, who is staying in Seward's quarters, and confesses that he murdered Lucy and has been terrorizing Mina's friends. And she is like hates him obviously for this, that he like sabotaged a lot of her friends and stuff, but she also has so many feelings for him. You know, it's just like this vice of cheating and all that stuff. Though furious at first, Mina admits that she still loves him and remembers Elizabetha's previous life. At her insistence, Dracula begins transforming her into a vampire. She's like, please let me live the life that you live. I want to be with you forever. I want to be immortal, pretty much. Obviously, they're not immortal, but until they get like beheaded and stabbed in the heart, then they live forever. Yeah, the hunters burst into the bedroom and Dracula claims Mina as his bride before escaping. And they just can't believe it. As Mina changes, Van Helsing hypnotizes her and learns via her connection with Dracula that he is sailing home in his last remaining box, his box of soil. It looks like he's pretty much buried alive. Like, yeah. The hunters depart for Varna to intercept him, but Dracula reads Mina's mind and evades them. She sees what she's thinking, and yeah. Obviously, Dracula's superhuman. He's pretty much a monster. He's not even human. The hunters depart for Varna to The hunters split up. Van Helsing and Mina travel to the Borgo Pass in the castle, while the others try to stop the Romani transporting Dracula. So, at night, Van Helsing and Mina are approached by Dracula's brides. Mina succumbs to their chanting and attempts to seduce Van Helsing and to make him join in as a vampire. Before Mina can feed on his blood, Van Helsing places a communion wafer on her forehead, leaving a mark that slows her transformation. It's pretty much like in like exorcisms when you show them the cross, and they did that kind of throughout this movie, but yeah, it's with a wafer type of thing. It's a communion wafer because it comes from a church. He surrounds them with a ring of fire to protect them from the brides, and then kills the brides the following morning, beheads them all. Dracula's carriage arrives at the castle, pursued by the hunters. A fight between the hunters and Romani ensues. Morris is stabbed in the back and Dracula bursts from his coffin at sunset, now appearing as a monstrous bat-like humanoid. And we kind of saw that like in his little lair, I guess. Jonathan slits his throat with a kukri knife while Morris stabs him in the heart. As Dracula staggers, Mina rushes to his defense and like pushes everyone away. Van Helsing and Jonathan allow her to retreat with the Count because Jonathan loves her so much that he will be willing to give her whatever she wants. Morris dies from his wounds, surrounded by his friends. Obviously, everyone's devastated at that. And then we get to kind of the final scene of the movie, where we're in the chapel, where he renounced God. Dracula lies dying in a grotesque form. He and Mina share a kiss as the candles adorning the chapel light up and the cross repairs itself. Dracula reverts to his younger self and asks Mina to give him peace. Like, he's finally dying. The evil is starting to go away. Mina thrusts the knife through his heart, and as she dies, the mark on her forehead disappears. She's no longer going to be a vampire. She couldn't complete the transformation. She decapitates him and gazes up at a fresco of Vlad and Elizabeth ascending to heaven together, finally reunited, and she starts to realize, like, oh, I did the right thing. Yeah, I love him, but he needs to be with his wife in heaven, you know. I don't think they should go to heaven, but hey, that's just me. Let's get into the review. I don't have a whole lot to say about the review of this movie. Overblown in the best sense of the word, Francis Ford Coppola's vision of Bram Stoker's Dracula rescues the character from decades of campy interpretations and features some terrific performances to boot. You know, it's created with the enthusiasm of a precocious film student who has magically acquired a master's command of his craft. Coppola brings the old spooky story alive. Everyone knows that Dracula has a heart. Coppola knows that it is more than an organ to drive a stake into. To the director, the Count is a restless spirit who's been condemned for too many years to interment in cruddy movies. This luscious film restores the creature's nobility and gives him peace. Eerie, romantic, and operatic, this exquisitely mounted revamp of the undead legend is a supreme artistic achievement. As the tired Count who has overdosed on immortality, Gary Oldman's towering performance holds center stage and burns itself into the memory. And I'm sure he's probably one of, if not the best portrayal of Dracula, because, man, he was great in this film. I enjoyed the movie simply for the way it looked and felt. I loved the aesthetic of the movie. I think it was visually amazing. Production designers Dante Ferretti and Thomas Sanders have outdone themselves. I mean, the cinematographer Michael Balhas gets into the spirit so completely, he always seems to light with shadows. I mean, the film's narrative confusions and dead ends were kind of critical, but the film kind of suffered from a somewhat dispersed and overcrowded storyline, but it remains fascinating and often affecting thanks to all its visual and conceptual energy. The film's not particularly scary, not very sexy, maybe a little dramatically over the top, and maybe it hasn't aged quite as well as some other movies of that time. I think this movie came out over 30 years ago, but yeah, the tone, several of the casting decisions were a bit interesting. Has a film ever promised so much yet delivered so little, is what someone said. All we're left with is an overly long, bloated adaptation instead of what might have been a gothic masterpiece. Now, I don't agree with that critic. That's just a negative review. I'm just kind of pointing stuff out of what people have to say about the film. I don't think it's bloated at all. I don't think it's very long at all. It doesn't seem like a long movie. 2 hours, yeah. And I watched it in multiple sessions, obviously because I'm at college and people want to hang out and stuff. I don't think it's that long, to be honest. The romantic makeover of Dracula registers as little more than a marketing device designed to exploit the attractiveness of the movie's youthful cast. I can kind of see that. It rolls on a patina of the feel-good uplift endemic in recent Hollywood movies. I don't think this falls victim to some sort of Hollywood curse. I think it's genuinely an artistically good film. It's just some people have bad things to say. It's more like a B movie to me. I don't think it's necessarily perfect. I don't necessarily think it's an amazing movie, but it's got its moments, and I really like it. I think this would be a really fun movie to watch normally on Halloween or something. I think it's great. So yeah, I don't know. That's one of the scratch-off movies. I can't show the poster. It's way up on my wall and stuff. For tomorrow's video, we're watching Rec, and actually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't have classes, so those days I'm allowing you guys to get 3 videos, so that should be really nice. I'm watching Rec. It's a 2007, it seems kind of like a found footage film. It's only an hour 18 long, so while I'm kind of exporting this video, I'll probably start watching that one. But I'm out, guys. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. As always, it has been GZTV, giving you guys the best movie reviews out there. I hope you guys have a good day. Hopefully you've been enjoying some of the edited reviews and stuff we've been doing recently, and I'm out.